All right, you got it.
Welcome to Sinker and Sliders podcast. I'm Pat. That's Matt. Joining us today is Toby, his son. And topic that we want to talk about today is basically get a perspective from Toby as a high school baseball player, as a catcher, and me and Matt as pitchers. And kind of talk about how we have pitchers warm up before a game, how we have relievers warm up in game, and we can even touch base on if there's a position player from the field, how they warm up during a game. And maybe if we have enough time, we'll get into our showcases and travel ball. Is it worth it? So I'm going to kick it off to Toby and just kind of get his perspective right now on what is your routine for a starting pitcher before a high school game? What time do you start? Stuff like that.
Usually it's so much different sometimes because sometimes we only get like 30 minutes if you get off the bus. So you got to kind of have like your home routine that you have like an hour and a half to like you can really take your time and a long stretch and stuff like that. And then you got to kind of have one that's like a lot quicker because sometimes you get off the bus and they're like, hey, you only got 30 minutes to get ready. So you got to have like kind of two different ones.
So do you guys do, like, I know some of our guys do like the bands and the plyos and stuff. Would you do that at your school prior to getting on the bus?
No, we don't do anything before because normally we're getting right out of school and going straight to the games if it's going to be short down. So if you got 30 minutes, so that's what I said. You got to have two routines. Got to keep them.
I mean, that's about the time that, I think a starter would probably start, right, Matt? Like when you were a starter, about 20, 30 minutes prior, go out 30 minutes, start your stretch. I'm not sure. I was a reliever.
Yeah, I mean, I would agree with Toby. Like, you got to have two. Like, you got to have one where I'm going to jog some poles. I'm going to stretch. I know I've got, an hour and a half or whatever, and I can take it easy. But then also you got to have one like I step off the bus and I got to get my crap together and do kind of condense everything into a little quicker, smaller routine. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I mean, what we would do is the team would stretch, and while the team is stretching, kind of the pitcher and catcher would kind of just be on their own in the dugout, probably with headphones on, just preparing mentally, and they'd be given a scouting report from our pitching coach or whoever did the scouting report that prior to the game, and they go through the other team's lineup, kind of the plan of attack, how we're going to attack their hitters, which kids are base stealers, which kids are the ones that we're not going to let beat us today. Generally a third or fourth hitter, in my opinion. And while that's going on, team stretching, about 30 minutes prior to first pitch. I don't know about you guys, but a lot of our games are far away. So when teams are coming to our place, a 4:30 game usually doesn't start at 4:30. So, right. Their bus is running late or they hit traffic or whatnot. And I don't know if it's like a rule, but they need a certain amount of time to get ready. And we kind of agree upon that once they get there. So once they get there, that's when we agree. So I'm not going to have my guy start throwing at 4:00 when the other team hasn't shown up yet. He'll do his stretch, he'll do his plyos, and stuff like that. I know we were kind of spoiled when we played pro ball because we knew exactly at 1:00 game was going to start. You were going to get going at 12:30. And, that's why I thought this would be a good topic. Me and Matt were talking about it today. All right, Matt. So, or Toby, after you guys know the game time and you guys are walking out to the outfield, what do you guys do? A long toss? You go right to the bullpen? How do you guys work it?
So usually, like all the position players and outfielders, they go do kind of their own thing. So sometimes some players I want to do bands, some throw plyo balls. They're all kind of different, but they're all stretched together. And then the starting pitcher and catcher. So it's normally like I have 2 or 3 guys that are like, hey, I need plyo balls, I need J bands, I need to stretch my legs, I need to run. And then I have 1 or 2 guys that I want to do a little bit of bands and then I want to go throw. So me personally as a catcher, I just do J bands. I don't throw plyo balls. I do J bands and then I go down to the corner towards the foul pole and I start stretching my legs. I do some dynamic stretches for my legs, get them moving a little bit, and then do some static in place stretches. warm up my shoulders so you can receive well with the J bands, all that stuff. And then normally my pitchers, by the time I try to get my routine synced up to each guy pretty well. So some guys, you have a little longer sometimes. And then other guys, hey, I got to start before them because theirs isn't as long. And then normally we start throwing together. And then obviously I kind of got to just follow the pitchers most of the time. So, some guys like to go 200 feet to throw. Some guys don't like to throw past like 90. So,
okay. I'm sure Matt can attest to this. Everything's, kind of comfort. I don't tell kids you have to do this, you have to do that. I just kind of give them suggestions and let them kind of navigate and see what works for them. Usually if they do a certain warm-up and they pitch well, that becomes their warm-up. Yeah. If they pitch bad, then it's, they're going to do something maybe a little different next time, which is understandable. I was the same way. So then when they get to the bullpen, right? So they've done their long toss, they've done their plyos, they've done their bands, they've done their stretching. They get to the bullpen. What's your kind of routine? And then I'll kind of tell you our routine, what I do with our high school guys.
Our routine's normally like my new coach is very, very kind of trusting to what our guys want. So he's if it works for you, it works for you. So like some guys are, hey, I want to throw first 10 fastballs and nothing else till I can bang fastballs here. And then it's some guys, I want 3 fastballs and then 3 changeups and then 3 curveball sliders and working through their pitches more. And then some guys are like, hey, I want to start throwing to batters earlier. You know what I mean? Like I want to start working batters earlier. So I think it's such a feel thing, though. I think everybody's just so different. Like I think everything starts with normally a couple good fastballs, and then we get into like some moving side to side and then some breaking pitches and stuff like that.
Very good. Matt, when you were in high school, I know I could tell you what I did. What did you do in high school?
I just threw gas, baby. Just let it eat. No clue.
Your warm up. What was your warm up?
I
Did you ever long toss, or did you go right to the bullpen?
No, I long tossed, and then the bullpen was like there was no like structure. It was maybe 8 or 10 fastballs. Try to rip a curveball, which mine sucked. Couple changeups, and then I knew 90% of the time I was going to throw a fastball. So there, what I'm saying. Just if I can throw strikes, whatever. Now, I've adapted over the years. Like, I know what I would want my pitchers to do. And after pro ball, I know what I, like pro ball in high school was completely different as far as like as a starter in high school. Maybe 10 pitches in the bullpen. Pro ball, it was like you better find your fastball. You better check your changeup. You better, as a starter now, you better check those and see where you're at before you ever work a batter. You may never work a batter, but you want to make sure they're all working so and it's the same things I tell my kids. You've got to pitch with what you have that day. So If you're a starter and you have 4 pitches, your slider may suck. Your curveball may be great. So if I get ahead in the count, I want to throw that curveball before I throw the slider. So that's I didn't really have that luxury in high school. High school was just get loose and show them you got a strong arm and go from there. But pro ball, like figure out your pitches and get it, and then know what you're gonna use that day.
Yeah. I like looking back, I'm pretty sure I never long tossed. I think I just got right in the bullpen and just started letting it eat.
Yeah.
And half the time, if I had a bad inning, it was always the first inning because I never warmed up properly.
Right.
And like you said, there was not really much structure.
Yeah.
As a coach from, the experience and what I've learned and what I've watched, it's like our guys go in the outfield, they long toss. When we get back towards 60 feet, we actually have them throw some changeups, spin a few curveballs, 75%. Then we get to the bullpen, and we generally start 3 fastballs down the middle. Once you establish you could hit that, then we'll start moving in and out. Sometimes it takes 5, sometimes it takes 8. Once you establish your fastball middle, then we'll move. And I'm not saying you got to split the plate, over the plate. Then we'll move in and out. If you hit the spot, then the catcher's moving. Then we'll go to our secondary pitch and then our third pitch. we always usually have a batter track or stand in just so they have that visual. So after they establish all their pitches and location, then we go, I think I do this because this is what I struggled with most. We throw the first inning in the bullpen.
Yeah.
So he'll throw 3 outs in the bullpen, or even if he walks 2 guys and gets 1 out, that's fine. 3 batters, either whatever way it happens. And then we'll go onto the field and, we'll have a little bit of time to grab a drink before we go out onto the field. And we end it usually with a pitch out to each side of the plate. You'll give the sign. So then there's no, during the game, if it's called, there's no mistaking. And then we go to work, and then when they get on the mound and do their warm up there, the only thing that I ask is the last 2 warm up pitches are from the stretch with a runner on first. Everything else is fine by me. So,
yeah. Well, and I think that's there was no structure because they didn't have me and you as a coach. You know what I'm saying? Or somebody that genuinely knew the game. Today's society, like most of these coaches have played college ball, they've done, so they're giving a kid a good opportunity. The kids just have to listen. Like, you may not want to pitch a batter, you may not want to do, but there's more of an understanding in 2026 versus what there was in 1996. You know what I'm saying? Like,
I feel like there's also more avenues.
Right.
Like everything that we had was what our coach learned.
Right.
There wasn't Instagram, there wasn't TikTok, there was, like all these things that they could go on and maybe learn something for the first time.
Right.
Everything we were learning was, it started with me from my dad, who, was a Marine and didn't play baseball, and he was a cop. So, everything he learned was probably from talking to somebody else or whatnot. And then getting to high school, I know my coach in high school, he was knowledgeable about the game. He taught me a 2-seamer, which I didn't know what that was really when I got to high school. Showed us stuff on the curve. I don't know where he learned that, all those things, but I know he didn't learn it by picking up a book or watching a video, like today. So I think there's much more access, for coaches these days. If you want to find a good drill to do for catchers, just go on YouTube and type it in. You can watch 10 different videos.
It's the same thing we talked about last week. Some of it's bull crap and some of it's good.
Yeah.
Yep. You can have a kid out there running around and lighting candles with his butthole, and it's not going to help you be a better catcher or a better pitcher. Like, you have to have somebody that has some kind of common sense to understand or differentiate between what's right and what's wrong. And if it's not somebody that's been or played the game, then you're going to end up doing stupid drills that mean absolutely nothing. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Well, I saw a good quote the other day. It said, showcases, and I'm not going to use the curse word, but showcases are BS, analytics are BS, production on the field is what matters.
Exactly. I mean,
it's just I saw the Mets. There was a video that showed like our old 10-pack that we threw on, and it said this was the past, and it had 10 guys thrown in the bullpen with one pitching coach walking back and forth, and they said this is today, and they said it's a theater. You have cameras here, this, that, getting spin rate, and after every pitch, there's flat screens behind the pitcher to turn around and look. So we could see how much spin he had, or the velocity and all that. That didn't exist. I feel like, me personally, if I was chasing a TV screen, I wasn't learning how to pitch. I feel like you know what I mean. That's just me.
I mean, it was what was the old game that, what was it, Siphon Filter? Was that what?
Yeah.
I mean, that
was
the
a game. Yeah.
Game, but that's what these kids are doing. Like, I sucked at games. You were pretty good at that game. Like, it took me.
Oh, I beat everything.
I think I took a whole spring training to get to the freaking level 2. But like, if I'm turning around,
Metal Gear Solid.
If I'm turning around looking every pitch at a video screen, like, there's no way in hell I could do that. No way.
I actually got something on that. I think it's one of those things where you get so much information And I think if you know what to do with that information, it can make you a better player. And I feel like if you don't know how to use the information and you just get caught up in only doing that, then I feel like that's where you can start to spiral sometimes. But if you don't read too much into it, like if you throw a fastball and the screen says it's good, but every time you get in the box, somebody's hitting it, it's obviously not good.
Yeah, I mean, like for instance, a curveball, right? Spin rate. If I have, great spin rate, but it's eye high and it's not over the plate, am I happy?
No,
because I had that spin rate?
Yeah.
Or you know what I mean? Like I'd rather see the result of the pitch and say, well, that felt good, that looked good, let's see how it works in the game. But the spin rate might not be what it was on the last three, but the last three, I didn't throw for a strike. Yeah. So I mean that's just, I guess that's devil's advocate, right?
So we have the young kid in here, and he says, which I don't want to say I completely disagree with it, but
he does.
Like if you can look at the numbers and do what freaking high school kid can look at the numbers and digest what they're doing and what they're doing right. And then are we going to trust that with a college or a high school coach that don't know their butt from a hole in the ground on these numbers and these analytics? Like spin rate is, if I throw a curveball and that bitch is white, it's a good curveball.
Yeah,
I don't need
to type spin, the red dot.
You get, you know what I'm saying? But if I throw a curveball and I'm seeing some red, like your spin rate's not there. So the young buck is going to say there's information there if you know how to use it, but I'm going to call BS on that because most 90% of the coaches that they play for have no idea how to digest those numbers. Do you understand what I'm saying?
I get what you're saying. Absolutely. But what number are you trying to get to? You're trying to compare a pitcher in high school to Paul Skeens? Good luck. Like what's the number? Is it based on velocity and spin? Is it based on a major leaguer? Is it based on, you know what I'm saying? Like where what are we working with here? What's the goal? Is it based on if a kid throws 75 miles an hour, chances are he's not going to have good spin on a curveball, right? It's not going to be that great because the velocity is not there. But my biggest gripe nowadays is like I think we talked about it a little bit was everybody's chasing velocity, right? Everybody wants to throw 100 miles an hour. They'll throw a bowling ball off a tree if they have to try to throw harder.
Right.
So the discussion I usually have is and this was just me. Like I knew I wasn't a great basketball player, for instance, but when I was younger, if it was pouring rain and thunder and lightning, you'd see me in my driveway shooting the basketball because I was obsessed with becoming better at it.
Right.
So when I ask a kid, what are you doing to throw harder? Well, I go to the gym. Okay. How many days a week? 2. I say, well, you don't want to throw harder.
Yeah.
If you want to throw harder, you should obsess about it. You shouldn't be able to sleep because of it, right? You should do everything and anything you could possibly do. You should stretch every day, do bands, whatever it is. Then maybe I'll believe that you want to throw harder. Are you long tossing? Are you throwing every day? Just again, this is all my opinion. This isn't fact.
I got a question for you on the you talk about the throwing harder stuff. What do you think about younger kids, like high school kids? I'm not saying like high school sophomores up in high school throwing plyo balls.
I when the weighted balls first came out was when I was doing lessons back in the day, and every parent asked me about it. And my initial answer was, I don't know because I've never done it. But I will tell you that I feel like when you throw a baseball from an unnatural motion, like overhand, it puts a lot of stress on your UCL and your elbow and your shoulder and everything else. So now I'm taking a 5-ounce ball and it's putting, I believe, 70 pounds of pressure when you throw off a mound, 30 pounds of pressure on flat ground. Now all of a sudden you're going to give me a weighted ball and tell me to do the same thing, right? So I think when a kid hasn't gone through puberty, it's detrimental more so than helpful, especially when they're, maybe 13, 14 and younger. I think when somebody's a little bit more developed, it is like a short-term fix. I don't know that it's a long-term thing. Like I don't know. Again, this is something that somebody told me. I don't know if it's true, but If you swing a weighted bat in the on deck circle and you get in the batter's box, your bat's going to be slower because you fatigued your arms. But your bat feels faster, right? Absolutely. So if I'm constantly swinging a weighted back and then I get in the box, wouldn't my arms be tired? I mean, I don't know. There's your, one or the other. I always swung a weighted bat. I don't know that it was right or wrong. It worked for me. Everybody's different. And that's one thing me and Matt talked about on the phone earlier today. A lot of things that we might think is the right way, the wrong way. It's that individual player. Is it right or wrong for them? Does it work for you? Does it not work for you? And don't worry, Toby, we're going to get into knee down, knee up as a catcher.
Yeah.
All right. We're going to talk about that one of these days because I watched the Yankees in the playoffs this year and saw a couple passed balls that wouldn't happen if people were in a normal catching crouch.
Sure.
So, but that's for another day, right, Matt?
Yeah, that was a hard pill for me to swallow. So that's definitely for another day.
Yeah. And I think when we have that episode, I'm going to reach out to a friend of mine from Rockland and see if he can join us for a few minutes and kind of jump in on that one. I think you know who I'm talking about, but I'm not going to say his name. So yeah, no, I think that's all good stuff, man. I think it's great. Is there anything else, Toby, you could think of in that realm of everything we talked about, like warming up, pitching? Oh, we didn't even talk about relievers, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I could tell you as a reliever what I did. The phone rang, I grabbed the ball, jumped on the rubber, and threw the ball as hard as I possibly could. I mean, I had to get loose maybe in a batter, maybe in two batters. It wasn't like you got next inning. Like that kind of wasn't a thing in pro ball. But when I was kind of doing the closer role, if we had a lead of 3 runs or less in the 7th, I knew, all right, I'm going to get myself going now. I started to stretch, started to get ready. So I was able to prepare a lot more. But when I wasn't a closer, all of a sudden the phone rings and, you might be on the chart that you're up today, but there's also 4 other names. So you don't know who the manager is going to go to. And I guess that goes back to don't get ready, stay ready. Just be ready at any time for your number to be called. So I feel like we did play catch a little bit down there during the games and stuff when we weren't trading balls for hot dogs.
That's what I was about to say. Like,
yep.
Yeah.
Try closing a game after 6 hot dogs. Feels great. That was fun. But now with our guys, especially a position player, that's where it gets hard because I know a lot of high school guys play position and pitch. So we try to do our best to, while we're batting, get that guy in the pen just to get him a little loose. And then I know he has the 8 pitches. And then when they go out to in between innings to take their ground balls, they say it's the shortstop. I tell them, you turn around and play catch with the left fielder and let it eat, get your arm hot, really hot, just in case he walks the first batter and you're in the game.
Yeah, I've never heard that. I really like that. I like that one.
So that's one thing that we do. But if it's a kid that pretty much is on the chart for the day that he's going to pitch, I think in the beginning of the season, it's hard to navigate. But as the season goes on, I think roles start to emerge and, you know who your guy is. That's going to be a guy that's going to come in and shut down an inning in a close game that you need. You have a guy that's going to maybe come off right field to come in and close the game. And I think that as the season progresses, that's when those things start to, kind of weed themselves out and kind of settle into their role. So, I mean, I don't know. I just feel like, again, everybody's different. Everybody does things different. I've had guys that go to the bullpen and, they want to do curveball rotations for 5 minutes before they get on the mound. They want to throw fast change, curve, fast change, just because they want to transition pitch to pitch. So over the years, a lot of things have been different, but we stick to, you got to throw me 3 fastballs down the middle first before we do anything else. Right. Show me that you can throw a strike first.
Yeah.
So what else you got, Matt?
You got anything for the young buck while we've got him here? And I mean, it's Valentine's Day and me and you are talking to each other. So that should explain a lot to the viewers or if anybody's out there, but you got anything else for the young buck?
I'll tell you this. Since
what's-
the first
like,
thing that I ever
what do you-
fell in love with was baseball, I'm going to say that baseball is my Valentine.
Yeah,
I love it.
yeah.
So, and baseball stuck by me 48 years, dude.
Never left. Huh?
It never left me. It hasn't left me yet.
So, anything for the young buck? I mean, like
Yeah, I mean, listen, I will say this.
you're a varsity coach, so and you coach up north. You got a Southern varsity player in your presence. You have any questions for him?
Well, for the viewers, I actually had the privilege of having Toby come up and play for me 2 summers ago. So I know what type of player he is. I've also, whether he knows it or not, usually log into his Game Changer and watch his high school games and see what he's doing. And I will say this, the first time, and I've been around baseball now for a long time, the first time I think I've ever seen when a game ended, a catcher turn around and shake the umpire's hand before he walked out to the pitcher was when I saw Toby do that. Never seen anybody do that. So, you know, when it comes to being respectful and playing the game the right way, I could vouch and say that he does. You know, I'm actually looking forward. I'm looking forward to watching Toby. I hear he's a little bit faster now, so you know, I'm a little excited to see it. You know, I know he can throw guys out. I know he commands a pitching staff very well. You know, if you need another coach on the field, he's that guy, which you want every catcher to be. So, only question I would have is, Toby, who's your Valentine since you're sitting here with us?
That's my girlfriend.
Plead the fifth, buddy. Don't say it.
All right,
But,
Patty.
All right. Well, thank you for watching, everybody. That's Toby. That's Matt. I'm Pat. And thanks for watching. And hopefully you guys hit the subscribe.